All right, everybody. Welcome back. Red Words Matter. This is episode 2. My name is Austin, and I really appreciate you tuning in and supporting this podcast. For those of you listening, just so you know, I do record video on every one of these. You can find them on YouTube. The channel is Red Words Matter. You can also find us on social media at Red Words Matter. So this will be the third time I'm recording this episode, and it makes sense that I had problems in post every time, primarily with audio, because I wasn't originally going to do this topic for episode 2, but I decided kind of last minute to talk about this, and this is going to be about fear, and this is going to be about the lie that you believe that you're not aware of. So it says in Timothy that God did not give us the spirit of fear. So where does fear come from? What is the purpose of fear? Fear comes directly from the evil one, from the devil. That is how the devil influences us. If you have anxiety, depression, or even that little voice inside of your head that says, "Don't do that, they're going to laugh at you. Don't tell them, they won't accept you." The root of all of that is fear. I'm going to say something that is going to be pretty controversial, but I don't really care. Disclaimer. Be advised, this might be shocking. I believe that what most people perceive to be God is the devil. Once we die, our soul is out of the hands of the devil. From that moment forward, he has no say or influence over us. While we're here on this earth, he certainly does. So why would the devil ever want to kill us? Does it make sense? Why would the devil be scary? Why would demons be scary? Some weird things going on. The devil does not want this message out. What do humans do when we're afraid of something? We run. So why would that be the goal of the force of evil when we would only flee from it? It stands to me to make more sense that what the devil would want is for us to grow old and live a long life, and then on our deathbed look over a life of regret, a life wasted. So how does he do that? If demons are angels, then they look just like angels, right? So which would be more likely to disguise their appearance? Would it be a demon or an angel? Angels are on a mission from God, so they would have no reason to disguise who they are and what their intentions are. From what I've read in the Bible, angels are pretty scary. But a demon would have every reason to disguise what it is, would it not? I was in some pretty heavy prayer a few years ago when I first began to understand and read the Bible, and when I first became a Christian. And I was asking God in my prayer to show me the lie that I believed that I wasn't aware of. And in this prayer, I had the most lucid experience. And God showed me what it was. He brought me back to a period of time in my life when I was very young. I was probably 8, 9 years old. And my dad's mother, my grandmother, would take me to church with her most Sundays because her husband, my grandfather, had passed away, and I was the only person that she could basically make go with her. And I remember one Sunday after the service, we were in the basement of the church, and we were there to get our pictures taken because it was to be posted in the annual. And when that annual came out, my last name was spelled wrong. It was spelled different than hers, even though she was right beside me. And there was no one else that had anywhere near the same last name. Now, my mother divorced when I was 1. I don't remember, so it's been a long time. So my entire life, my mother has had a different last name than I have. My father was not around very much growing up. So it was difficult for me. I remember a lot of different times that I had to explain to someone why my last name is different than my mom's. And yes, no, I belong to her. That's my mom. But she's divorced or she's remarried, and that's why we don't have the same last name. So I felt like I didn't really belong to anyone. And my grandmother, Helen, she had the same last name as I did. So she was one of the few people one of the only people I spent a lot of time with that I felt like I belonged to. As a child, I couldn't get lost from her because we shared the same name. And so I remember when they spelled my name wrong, it hurt. But in that moment, God came to me and he said, your biggest weakness, I'm going to turn into a strength. Because you don't belong. You are better. You are going to do better. You're special. You're better than them. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized that wasn't God. That was the devil. God would never say something like that. But it felt good. It felt like something God would say. Like, hey, it's okay. You're better than that. You're going to do better. So go out and do better. But what I did was I took advantage of every single person that I ever knew. And I was the most selfish person that I ever knew. I did everything I could at first to try to achieve, what I perceived to be normal. Which is ridiculous because, just by the nature of the word normal, it doesn't exist. It's implying that something has always been, will always be, and has never changed. So that's not what we're talking about. We're shooting ourselves in the foot even calling it that. What we're talking about is the status quo. And as we all know, that has changed very much. What high school kids perceived to be normal versus what it was when I was in high school, dramatically different. So I started off trying to at least belong to everyone else. And then, at some point in time, I got there and then I wanted to be better. I wanted to be the best. So I took advantage of everyone. I never did anything for anyone that didn't benefit me. And it hurt my heart the day that I became a Christian and the day that God showed me this lie. And the most important thing about it is I was able to forgive myself. I was able to forgive that the poor secretary that probably just had a long day and made a typo. But that's just a great example of what the devil does. Because that set me in motion to be convicted by something that motivated me, that was not of God, was not good, to hurt a lot of people in the name of something I thought was good. God and the devil sometimes sound a lot alike. And, it's unfortunate, or maybe fortunate, but I know the devil a lot better than I know God. And I've watched how the devil uses fear. So what if I told you next time you have anxiety, when you have depression, when you have something that's holding you back, something you want to do, something you should do, but there's something telling you not to because of fear, there is a moment that is right in front of you that will be one of the greatest moments of your life that force of evil doesn't want you to see. The devil will make your biggest strength your biggest weakness. Sound familiar? And it's very important not to discount what we have done in our past and the horrible things that we would never speak about, that we would never want to say out loud. And aren't those the things that little voice tells you really don't need to say out loud? A friend of mine, she'd quit drinking, and her and I were having a discussion about it, and And I asked her why she quit drinking, and she told me that her roommates and a lot of other people have asked her why, and she said, I'll tell you why. And it was, I'm not going to say exactly what it was because it's it's pretty intense, but it was because of her behavior towards men when she would drink, and what that would cause her to do with her body. And so she said when her roommate asked her, she said it out loud and just very unfiltered and raw, told her roommate exactly the truth of why. And then she said it out loud to me again. And I watched the weight lift off of her. That it was out. It was gone. It wasn't something that was held inside anymore. And I watched the power of confession from someone who wasn't even a believer. I watched it work. What's amazing is since then I've had a chance to witness to her, and she has become a very spiritual person and a follower of Christ. But it was amazing to watch that confession. The devil doesn't want you to confess or say out loud the horrible things that you've done. But here's an interesting thought. All of the trials that we have, everything that we go through, it's not for us. It's not for us to learn a lesson. It's for us to be able to help someone that needs our help. A good friend of mine, his name is Pastor Tommy. He's a pastor of a pretty big church here and does a lot of work in the church and whatnot. He said to me one time, he said, Austin, why does everyone want to be on the top of the mountain? Metaphorically, why is that where we want to go? Nothing grows on top of a mountain. We don't plant our harvest on top of a mountain. We don't gather fruit on top of the mountain. We have to go to the valley to gather fruit. How are we ever going to navigate the valley if we don't know our way around the valley? How can we save the lost from the darkness if we haven't made it out of the darkness with that understanding? God made the devil for a reason. How will we ever know what was good if we didn't have something to contrast good and evil? A necessary evil. Just like Judas Iscariot. Someone had to turn Jesus in. How would you ever celebrate victory if you haven't suffered defeat? It's kind of crude, but my favorite way to say that is, how would you ever enjoy cake if you didn't eat shit? So don't discount your past, your trials. Those were for a reason. God can turn any tragedy into a triumph. All the devil wants to do is to lie to you about your potential. He does not want us sober-minded. He does not want us motivated. He does not want us to achieve our potential. And he'll do everything that he can to try to distract us from it. So pay very close attention, because your greatest moment may be just right in front of you. What you perceive to be God may be the devil. I'm going to do, the next episode I'm going to do is going to be on the love equation and the ways that I've learned to measure what is God and what is the devil. I hope that this brings some light into the dark. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, you can reach out. You can find us on social media at Red Words Matter. We've recorded all this on video, YouTube, Red Words Matter. If you wanted to rate the show, I would certainly be very appreciative of that. If not, no big deal. So yeah, here we go. Episode 2 in the books. And I hope everyone is so blessed. And I just, what I want more than anything is to help the lost the way that I was lost. Understand God, understand love, and understand what our purpose is here. Until next time, God bless.